Hi everyone, welcome to Great Glen Yoga. My name's Rachel and today we're going to go through together a lovely lower back yin yoga practice. So everything today is going to be focused very much on nourishing our lower back. We're going to be doing some gentle back bends, some forward folds. There's going to be some gentle twisting as well, just really to soothe and nourish that lower back area, as well as working into some other parts of the body as well. We're not going to be dependent too much on props in this session. I will ask that if you can have one bolster or a pillow or a couch cushion to hand, because we are going to use that in one of the poses, definitely. But for everything else, if you don't have props, it's not going to be too much of an issue. Props are great for just helping us to settle a bit more into the pose, for giving us lots of support in poses. So if you do have props to hand and you want to use them, please do so. It's really up to what you want and what your body needs today as to what you use. So we're going to start in a lovely child's pose to begin with. So it's up to you whether you want to come into a wide-legged version of the pose or whether you come into a standard child's pose. I think I'm going to do a standard child's pose today. Just find that gets a little bit more into the back than the wide-legged version. So pick whichever one works for you and we'll get started there. So I'll just turn around so that you can see. So I'm just settling back onto my heels, and in this version of the pose I'm just going to drape forward over my thighs and resting the forehead on the floor. If you find yourself draping and you're not quite reaching the floor with the forehead, grab a block, grab a folded up towel, a blanket, something else. And actually in this pose quite a lot of people might want something a little bit more gentle on the forehead than the mat. It's entirely up to you. So we're just going to drape forward, and the arms can just rest gently by our sides. And this is a lovely opportunity in this pose to just think about what brought you to your mat here today. Think about what you're looking for in this practice. Start to go inside and focus on you for this next 30 minutes or so. And to come out of this pose, just take the hands in line with the shoulders and just gently raise up. And we'll just pause here just very briefly. Just taking a moment to feel the effects of that first stretch. And we're going to come forward onto our bellies next. So we're going to come into a version of Sphinx pose. So make your way down onto your tummy, nice and gently. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do this pose. So I'm going to do the Sphinx version of this. So I'm going to come into Sphinx with my arms, forearms on the floor, shoulders down away from the ears, stretching forward. And then we're going to do half frog with our legs for this, one on each side. So I'm going to begin with my left so that you guys can see. So what we're going to do is just draw the knee up in line with the hip and take the left foot just out to the side. So for those of you who are used to doing frog pose, you'll be very familiar with these legs. So we're just doing it on one side, and we've got the variation of the Sphinx arms as well. And this is a really lovely stretch into that lower back. You're getting right into the middle of the lower back, but also to the side as well. So really lovely stretch for the whole lower back. If for whatever reason having the Sphinx arms just makes it a little too intense, then by all means come down onto the forehead, forehead to palms, and just relax here with the frog leg. Entirely up to you. Find whatever feels comfortable. I'll do the Sphinx arms, I think, in this version. Yin yoga can be so wonderful and so soothing for the lower back. But what I would say is that if you're experiencing any active ongoing pain in the back, so pain that is current, then please seek some advice before doing this video. This is really to help to prevent further issues, or if you've experienced problems in the past and you just want to make sure that you're giving some attention to that lower back, then please do go through this practice. But what we don't ever want to do is create any additional pain in the back, any additional pinching. So in any situation where that happens, then please use your props, use the modifications that are available to you to make sure that we don't have that pain. Because remember, in Yin Yoga, we're not looking for pain, we're not looking for discomfort, we're just looking to take ourselves to our edge. And if you're up on your Sphinx arms, then just take the head down to the palms, and you can just relax the leg back to the center. We'll just pause here before going on to the other side. I'm going to come into those Sphinx arms again, and then this time I'm bringing the right leg up. And just feel that lovely stretch into the lower back, a little bit into the right hip. And remember, no pinching, no pain. And concentrate on your breath. If your mind starts to wander, just bring it back to how the body feels and the breath. And as before, just release down onto the hands. Take the leg back to center. And just rest here, giving our upper body a little bit of a break. And we're going to gently push ourselves up to a kneeling position. So we're going to come into full frog pose now, and there's a couple of different ways that we can do that, and it really depends on if you're wanting to work a little bit into the upper body as well, or if you want to be quite supported in the pose. So if you do have a bolster or a cushion, then that's a really great thing that you can use in this version of the pose. So I might just do that this way so that everybody can see what I'm doing. So easy way to get into it is almost to take your legs as if you were coming into a wide-legged child's pose, toes together, knees nice and wide apart, and then I'm just going to move forward onto the bolster and then move the feet out to the side so that I'm in this frog leg kind of pose, and just feel that lovely stretch in the legs. And I really like this version of the pose because you can really just let your upper body relax into the bolster. Your legs are doing the work for you. So we're making sure in frog pose that we've got our ankles in line with our knees and the feet are just sticking out at the end like little frog's legs. And then you can just relax here. You can stay upright and just let the forearms and the palms rest on the floor, or you can rest the head down onto the bolster, whatever feels good for you. And this can be quite an intense pose, so you can always bring the knees in a little bit if it starts to feel a little bit too much, or like with any pose, come out of it a little bit early if you feel you need to. And if you had one ear resting on your bolster, you can just move across to the other ear. And to come out of this pose, I like to take the legs back so that the toes are touching, feet in, and then just start to press back up. Bring the knees in a little bit and then sit back onto the heels. So we're going to do a couple of forward folds now. So we're going to have some forward bending and start to work right down the whole posterior chain, so from the back of the skull all the way down to the tips of the toes. So we're going to begin by getting into caterpillar pose. So we're just going to come into a seated position with the toes facing straight out in front of us, legs long, and really this is one of the most simple poses that we can do in yin yoga in terms of what we're trying to achieve and what it looks like, but it's a pose that does so much for so much of the body. So get yourself into a nice seated position, and remember, in yin yoga we're not trying to force anything, we're not trying to create any sort of flat backed movement, we're just really relaxing into this stretch. So once you're satisfied with where you're sitting, we can just start to drape forward over the thighs and really just go as far as you need to. This is the kind of pose as well where we'll sink into it a bit more as time goes on, so go as far as you can at this point. It might be that you don't go very far at all. I know that earlier in the morning, which is when I'm filming this, I'm not maybe as flexible or as bendy as I can be at other points in the day, so just go with it. Go with whatever you want. If you want to use a bolster or a block for the forehead, please do so, but I think I'm just going to drape today and see where we go. And it's really nice in this pose to just let everything relax. There's nothing here, there's no effort here, there's nothing that we're trying to do. The arms can be relaxed, they can be down by your sides, they can be resting on the shins, palms facing up, just so that we're not tempted to kind of pull further into the position, and just let the head hang and be heavy. Everything is letting go. And as I said, this will stretch right through the whole of the posterior chain, all the way down the back, all the way down the backs of the legs. Really nourishing, really soothing pose. Eyes closed and just relaxed. This is really one of my favorite yin yoga poses because everything feels heavy and relaxed. And with the eyes closed, it just feels like you're in your own little world. And it feels wonderful on the spine, the back of the neck. We're going to ease out of this pose as gently as we got into it, just starting to move slowly back up to a seated position, bringing the head and the neck up last. And just take a second here, just pop the hands behind the back and just relax. Just stretch out the legs, maybe just give them a little shake, give everything a little massage. before we move into our next posture. So the next pose that we're going to come into is a half dragonfly pose. So we're going to take our right leg out to the side and we're going to snuggle the left foot in towards the top of the right thigh. So right leg is nice and long, left leg is tucked in. And then there's lots of different variations of this pose that we can do. We can turn towards the right leg and fold over. But today I'm going to suggest that we fold forwards. Just gives a slightly different feel, and it means we're working more into the centre of the lower back rather than into the side body. So let's give that a whirl. So we're just going to come into that really nice and gently walking the hands forward and just bowing the head. And again, you don't need to reach the head to the floor here. If it comes to the floor, that's absolutely fine. But equally, if it's hovering, that's perfect too. And if you'd like a little bit of support for the forehead, please use a block or a cushion just to soften. And you'll feel this into the back, into the right leg as well. You'll get a really lovely stretch down the back of the right leg. And just relax the head, relax the neck. And let's just walk the hands back in to lift out of this pose. And we'll move across to the second side. So we can bring the right leg back in. And we're stretching the left leg now out to the side and tucking that right foot in to the top of the left thigh. And again, keeping those legs quite wide away from each other, the right knee pointing away, the left leg pointing in the other direction. Nice and grounded through the sit bones, and then we can start to fold forward. And it might feel quite different on this side compared to your first side. You might feel that you're a little bit tighter in the leg, which will affect how far into the fold you can come. So again, we're not looking to achieve something here. We're not looking to get the head to the ground. We're just getting to a place that feels good for us, where everything feels comfortable, but stretched and challenged as much as we want it to. And just let the head hang heavy. Nice deep breaths as we relax into this. And remember, in yin yoga, this is not about muscular effort. This is about creating poses and postures that allow us to really get into the ligaments, the tendons, the fascia of the body. So while we hold in stillness, we're doing some really great work to those parts of our bodies. And parts that often can be neglected. You know, we put a lot of strain on our bodies with activity we do every day. So this is an opportunity to really nourish those elements of the body that sometimes we may not think about. And let's just ease our way back up to a seated position. And you can bring that left leg back in. So we're going to come into our full dragonfly pose now. So sort of a seated, wide-legged forward fold. And you can do this with props. So if you'd like to use a bolster or a block for the forehead, please feel free to. So we're going to take both legs out to the side, get ourselves grounded, nice comfortable seat. Legs relaxed. You know, again, we're not using muscular effort here, so they don't have to be perfectly straight. They don't have to be engaged in any way. And then we're going to just fold forward into the middle, and you come as far as you want. So you may be here, you may be a little further down, you may be down on the forearms, you might be a little further down so the head is almost at the floor or at the floor, entirely up to you. You can use a bolster, so you can have that in front of you. You can drape the stomach over, have the forehead on the bolster, or a block. A block could work really well in this situation as well. Again, just for the forehead, that might feel really nice. And actually, I think that's what I will do today. I'll have the block for the forehead because that feels just what I need today. So just take a moment to get your props where you need them to be. And if your forearms are to the floor, just turn the palms up and just relax into it. Relax the legs. This can feel quite strong in the legs, quite strong in the back. So again, only go as far down as feels comfortable for you. Let's just gently ease ourselves back up. This can be quite an intense pose, so take it extra slowly just to come out, and you can bring your feet back gently into a cross-legged position. We're going to move into a version of deer pose now, with a bit of a twist. So again, really lovely for the lower back, slightly different way of us stretching and working into that part of the body. So this is where if you do have a bolster or a pillow or a large couch cushion, this will really come in handy. So if you can take your bolster or your pillow, and we're just going to place that next to the right hip to begin with. And what we're going to do is create deer pose with our legs. So we're going to take the right leg and have that parallel with the long edge of the mat. The left leg is going to be parallel, the left shin with the short edge of the mat. Have the bolster right by the right hip, and then we're going to turn and drape ourselves over onto the bolster or the pillow. And you can do that one of two ways. You can drape forward and turn the right ear to the pillow and have the arms just by the side there. Or if you want to take the twist a little bit deeper, you can turn and have the left ear onto the pillow, and that just gives the spine a little bit more of a twist, a little bit more intense. But the pillow or the bolster here is so wonderfully supportive. I find this pose really relaxing, really soothing. And there's a lot going on. You've got the twist, but you've also got the deer legs, and you've got that lovely stretch down the side of the left hip. And if, like me, you had your left ear to the bolster or pillow, just move the head back to the other side, and we can start to just push up from this pose. And we're going to come to do that pose on the second side. So I'm just going to move my bolster across to the other hip. So again, we're aligning in exactly the same way as we did last time, just on the other side. So we're taking our left foot this time, and that's going to align with the long edge of our mat. The right leg is going to align with the short edge of the mat. We take the bolster there to our left hip, and then we start to twist and drape onto the bolster. And again, it'll just feel different whether you have your left ear to the bolster this time, or whether you turn and have the right. I'll do the same as I did last time and just have that slight extra twist. And lifting just feels so lovely across the whole spine, the hips, particularly that right hip. Really, really lovely stretch. Move the head over to the other side if you're resting on your right ear, and just push gently up from there. And we're going to come into our final pose before Shavasana now. So we're going to come into a really nice back bend to finish our practice today. So we're going to come into half saddle. And again, this is where your bolster or pillow could really come in handy, but you can also do this without a bolster or pillow if you feel comfortable to. So the version we could do with the bolster is have that just behind our back, take the legs out long, and then we're going to start with the right leg. So we're going to take the right leg behind us, just move the fleshy part of the calf to one side, and you want your foot so that the toenails are resting on the mat, and then we can just start to drape ourselves over the bolster, and that can feel really lovely, really relaxing, really nourishing on the back, really supported. And I think if you have any kind of ongoing back issue, or you know that that's an area of your body that there can be some challenges with, then I would always suggest using the bolster or the cushion rather than coming all the way down onto your back without them. You can do that, of course. So from the position that you're in with your foot, you can come down to the palms, down to the forearms, and then if it feels right for you, you can come all the way down onto your back. And just keep the hips square if you can. You don't want to be rolling over onto the left hip too much if you're in this version of the pose. So just whatever works best for you. I think I'll just stay as I am in this version. But yes, please use pillow, bolster, anything under the back and the upper body where needed. And this can be a strong, intense pose. Certainly if you have any discomfort in the knee, this might be one to avoid. And instead you could come into a reclined butterfly, or potentially just have the legs out long and have supported fish with the bolster. There's a few different things you can do. come out of half saddle. Come up to your elbows to begin with, up onto the forearms, and then you can press into the palms and just gently raise back up to a seated position. Lean over onto the left hip to bring the right leg out in front of you again. And let's just pause here for a moment. Hands can come behind you and just let that right leg stretch out. And just rebound from that quite intense stretch. We'll come over to the second side. So we'll take the left foot behind us this time. Again, just getting the foot settled so that the toes and the toenails are on the mat. They're facing down. And if you're doing the same as me and you're not using a bolster or a pillow, we're going to come down onto the palms, onto the forearms, before settling all the way back onto our backs. And again, just take a moment to make sure the hips are squared off. You're not resting too far over onto the right. Close down the eyes and relax. And just keep coming back to the breath, the sensation. Anytime the mind starts to wander, just bring it back to the body, how the body's feeling. And this is your time to just relax and let everything go. And as before, we'll just ease slowly back up to a seated position, nice and gently, leaning over onto that right hip to release the left leg. And we'll just take a moment here, stretching both legs out long, maybe giving them a little bit of a shake, a little bit of a massage before we come down onto our backs for our final pose of today, our final resting pose, Shavasana. So make your way down onto your back. This is your opportunity to use, again, any props that can make this final pose feel even more comfortable. So if you're wanting to get really cozy, pop a blanket on, have a pillow for your head, anything that makes this feel how you need it to feel at the end of this practice. And, spend some time here just reflecting on your practice today and giving yourself that final bit of time to yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today for this lower back yin yoga practice. I really hope it's been beneficial for you, and I really hope to see you again on the mat in a future class.